and we will start soon.
And also, I think like to those who cannot be accommodated in the webinar, kindly tell your friends that they can subscribe the Faculty of Psychology YouTube channel because it's a live stream now. And then also we're gonna put the evaluation form for at the end of the webinar, and then they can also access. They can also get an e-certificate.
Yes, correct. So we share you again in the chat box the link to the YouTube of this the YouTube channel for this. Oh, can you send the YouTube channel again?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, because okay, now I can send it. I said it. So again, you can share it, and we will make sure that we will have a fun time together talking. It's interesting that today many young people come to our webinar to talk about something interesting. What is that? Porn. What's the abbreviation for porn? Can you tell us, Alekan?
Okay, porn actually is prevent offending, ravish, and nasty. And then we just use porn because I think everyone knows it already, and it's a kind of taboo to most of you guys. But I think it's appealing. So that's why maybe most of you are interested what it is all about. That's porn.
Yeah.
Okay.
Alikan, you know that even though it's appealing, but it's also something that we deal every day. So to some extent, it is some kind of banal. It is something that we see every day, yet we don't really talk about it. So our webinar today is actually facilitating us to talk about it. And we hope to give you enough information academically, but also practically for you to understand what is porn and how to deal with it. In addition to that, we're also going to talk about a special, unique relationship that somehow porn can also relate with criminal behavior, or we call it crime. So that's what we're going to share today. However, I need to ask you guys to be accommodative to our webinar. So please, if you keep mute yourself if you don't speak up, and if we allow you to raise question and have discussion, then we will give you some time. Okay, so I think we almost in time. Shall we start, guys? And I will start by introducing you with our team. Just a sec. Again, I need to ask you, for those of you who are not yet in mute condition, please do mute yourself so we can carry on this webinar quite easily so people can listen to our webinar. Okay, so welcome participant in our webinar. You need to know this is actually a community project from a class. So this is a course that is taken by 3 international students to Universitas Airlangga, and I will introduce you. And but I will tell you a bit about why we do this. Because this semester we have this project to understand what is porn and how porn can shape our mind, our brain, even to some extent can influence the likelihood of crime or criminal behavior. So I think what we have learned so far is very fascinating. That's why the class and the student in this class would like to share what they've learned so far with you guys. And we're aiming to achieve more target from high school students or young people with age range between 15 to 24 years old, because we believe these are the challenge that we're dealing every day. But somehow not so much we talk about this. And most of the time, we don't really know how to deal with porn. and how to prevent crime that is related with porn. So that's why we are here, and we want to share with you something. So who are we? So I'm Margareta. I'm the course coordinator of this class. I currently based in Melbourne because I'm doing my advanced study in the University of Melbourne. What I want to share with you is porn has become a part of human modern life today. And sex depicted in porn, I need to inform you, it's not real life sex. That is not healthy sex. So, as young people who are bombarded with this kind of information, you need to know, we need to know how to deal with it. We need to have the skill how to manage porn, including our sexuality. And my second colleague, my colleague is the second presenter is my colleague is Nido Wardana. He's the lecturer in Faculty of Psychology, Universitas Airlangga. He just graduated in clinical neuropsychology. So he will talk about how porn can shape your brain and what that means. Okay, so Nido is from Malang, Indonesia, and he will talk as the first presenter today. And after that, our friend from Malaysia. Who are you from? Is there anyone from Malaysia? Raise your hand, or you can just give yeah. Hello, Malaysia. So one of the speakers coming from Malaysia. Auva Johan is a student English with communication from University of Sultan Zainal Abidin. So she is also a very active student. She involved in many organizations, and she will talk about how porn, especially sexual coercion in porn, can involve in crime. That will be interesting. And another speaker we have also from the Philippines. Can I see you? Who are you from the Philippines? Raise your hand and make noise loud. Hi. I know that quite a number of participants coming from the Philippines. So Alikan Mendez Pandapatan is my student as well in this group, very active, and we really appreciate his work effort into putting all the registration form. So Alikan is a student in educational administration in the capital university, the Philippines, and he wants to say, guys, stay away from danger, save others from dangers, and shape the society without danger. This is the ideal real world we want. So be kind, guys. And for your notes, he's a peace advocate. And the next presenter, our lovely Anna Estafa from Université Le Havre Normandie, France. Can I see any of you coming from France, Normandy or France or Belgium? I see some hands are raised. So Amina will talk about sex revenge. Have you heard about that? So Alikan will mention something about sex pornography, including related with adolescent pornography. And while Amina will talk about sometimes adolescent also involved in sex revenge. And she wants to share with you guys that fight against sexual abuse is not an option, but it's a necessity. So it's not just something that you want to do or not to do, but actually it is a responsibility for us as a civilian to report and to be involved in how to deal with crime and porn. So those are the presenter for today. And I will start with calling the first presenter, that is Nido Wardana, and he will explain about what is porn and how porn can shape your brain. Nido, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, so please, time is yours.
Okay, thank you, Margareta. Hello, everyone. Hello, I hope you are all in good health. Oh, yeah, you should be able to see my screen now. Yeah. Let me check.
Not yet, Nido. Not yet, Nido.
Not yet? All right, just give me a second.
Do you think I finished sharing, right? So you can share now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, we can see it, Nido.
Okay, great, nice. All right, so as Margareta mentioned, that I will be talking about how porn shaped our brains. But first, I would like to ask all of you, please raise your hand if you have heard about the danger of porn. Please raise your hand if you are joining us in Zoom. Please raise your hand if you have heard about that porn is a dangerous thing. Oh, quite a lot of people are raising their hand. Nice, nice, nice. Right. It's great. It's great that many of you have heard that porn is a bad thing, but maybe not so many of you who really understand how and why porn is dangerous for us. So I hope that today's webinar will give you some insight or some knowledge about why and how porn is dangerous for us. Right. So yeah, I'm going to talk about what porn does to our brain. So, but before that, we should first define what porn is. So, what is pornography? So, for today's meeting, we will define porn is magazines, movies, videos, and pictures depicting people engaging in any type of sexual behavior, or people posing partially or fully nude, usually showing their genitalia. So by porn here, we really mean printed or offline materials as well as online materials that you can find in the internet. But we will also discuss other related sexual materials, including text and audio that we usually find in sexting context. So now let's begin our story about how porn affects our brain, how porn impacts our brain. So the story begins with dopamine. This is a neurotransmitter. So what it does is that when we watch porn, when we consume porn, a deep structure in our brain called the amygdala, releases dopamine so that we feel that we are having fun. So when we watch porn because of dopamine, we say, oh, this is fun. But as you watch more and more and more porn, the level of dopamine in your brain also increases. Here, you might think that more dopamine will equal to much fun. So watching more porn will give you much more fun. But no, that is just not the case. Why? Because the release of dopamine also triggers the release of two proteins, namely the SERP, CRED, and also the delta phosphate. What do they do? So let's talk about them one by one. So the CRED. So what it does, it is released in the basal ganglia as well, and it makes you go like this. So at first you might say, let's watch the video today. And then the next day, a video is not enough. Then you say, let's watch 2. And then the next day you say, let's watch 3, then 4. And it's only about time that you say to yourself, let's do nothing but watch videos today. What happened here is what we call tolerance. So the idea is that what was once fun for you becomes no longer fun. So you will need more in order to feel the fun. So one video will not be enough anymore, and then 4 video will not be enough anymore. So you crave for more. It's not only about the quantity, the frequency, but it's also about the quality. You will need more violence in the porn that you consume. And the delta phosphate, what does it do? Well, it is released when we stop using porn, and it triggers our stress system here. So because it triggers our stress system, it makes us feel unease. So we feel anxious. This is what we call withdrawal symptoms. So we feel nervous, jittery, or just generally uncomfortable when we don't watch porn. When we have these symptoms, we are entering the compulsion stage, meaning that porn is no longer for fun for us. So we don't watch porn for fun anymore. but we watch porn to get rid of the anxiety, to get rid of these symptoms. So that is a bad thing. But the story doesn't end there. So dopamine is also released in the prefrontal cortex area. It is the very front part of your brain. So a lot of dopamine will lower your executive function. This is a difficult word, but what it means is that by losing your executive function, it means that you gradually lose your ability to plan, make decisions, organize your behaviors. So so this function will be lowered or reduced. And dopamine, too much dopamine will also lower your inhibition ability, meaning that you will find it harder and harder each day to control yourself, to control your behavior. So in sum, you will be like a speeding car with no brake. You go crazy without destination, but you cannot stop your pace. But again, there's not the end of the story. There's still more to the story than that. Now, we should cover why teenagers' brain is particularly vulnerable to the effect of porn. The answer to this is that because in teenage, your brain is renovating itself, is in a constant rebuild. So your brain is not 100% matured yet, making it prone to the deleterious effect of porn and other addiction. So to give you just an idea of what it does when you watch porn in your young age is like you step on wet concrete. So because it's not hard yet, it's not done yet, it will leave permanent damage. It will easily break your flooring and it will leave permanent damage. So that is the effect of porn to your brain. So watching porn excessively or problematically, which usually means watching porn for more than 11 hours per week, will leave damage or will impact your brain. And this impact may underlie many problems related to porn, such as a sexual risky behavior, sexual coercion, child sexual abuse, and intimate partner or dating violence. This problem, this issue will be discussed more later in other presentation by other speakers today. So we will talk about this again later in more detail. Now let's take a look at the situation in the world. So how is the porn usage globally? So this is the data from porn sites. You can see here, these are the top 20 countries that use the porn site the most. United States is the leading country. We can see France here, the Philippines. So I think because many of you are coming from the Philippines, so this topic today will be very relevant for you. And also we should understand that the pandemic also increases the use of porn globally. As you can see here, this is February 2020, and then it raised drastically because of the pandemic. And also, interestingly, people also search coronavirus in this particular porn site. And you can see here that Malaysia and the Philippines are among the top countries searching for those terms in porn sites. So it is a very pervasive problem. Now I would like to talk about the problem in Indonesia. This is the data from the National Commission on Child Protection. We can see here that the number of victims and offenders of online sexual crimes, the underage victims and offenders, stays the same, but the number of children or adolescents using porn increased drastically after the pandemic began. And this coincidentally happened with the increase in numbers of underage victims of sexual violence. So I think there is a connection here between porn use and sexual violence victimization in children or young people, not only just children, also teenagers. So if you want to deal with this problem, we should know what are the challenges. In Indonesia, these challenges include taboo because we don't really talk about porn and sex in Indonesia. We're also dealing with economic vulnerability. This is a very intricate problem. And also there is conflicting laws, especially regarding marital law. And what has the country done about this problem? So Indonesia has taken some measures, including the positive internet. This means that we block pornographic sites, but we know that this is not effective because some people still can find access to these pornographic sites. We also have some child protection programs, such as Program Keluarga Harapan, Program Kesejahteraan Sosial Anak, but this program only focus on health education. And then we also have chemical castration law for child sexual offenders because we are dealing with these cases, with this problem quite a lot in Indonesia. So that is the picture of the problem in Indonesia and globally. So now we know that this thing is not enough. So it's not very effective, and we still need to do more. So what can you do in your end? So what can you do as a young people? So if you use porn actively or regularly, you can still do something. The first thing that you can do is to regain control of your use of your brain and also your life. You can do this by monitoring your use, how many times in a week that you watch porn, and you should understand it, like why do you use it, when do you use it, and then after you understand the pattern of your behavior, you can try to control it, try to reduce your consumption until you can stop it. And if you understand that you use porn because you're bored or you're stressed out, then you might want to try finding another high energy outlet. Try to channel that energy to something else that is more beneficial or more advantageous for you. For example, like sport, that is a very good alternative. And if you don't use porn actively, well, great, keep it up. You are doing a good job. Stay away from porn. But that is just not enough. So you should try to be an advocate. Please spread the message about the danger of porn. And this is because your voice matters. What you say matters. So because you are young people, you are part of the youth, then what you say will be heard more by your fellow rather than my voice or my colleagues' words. So you should try to be an advocate, spread the message because your voice matters. So that is all for me. Thank you very much. Now I think we can move on to the other presentation.
Okay, thank you, Nido.
Yeah.
Give a clap, but a virtual clap for Nido. Okay,
thank you.
Nido. So it is interesting to know that even though this is some kind of behavior, it is not just what you see, it's actually what end up in your brain and how the structure of your brain start to change. And along with that, your attitude toward porn and even violence related porn that can also be changed. So let's start to see what if we start to stumble upon aggressive, violent sexual behavior, and how does that shape crime? So Alpha will guide us to talk about what is the relationship between sexual coercion in porn and also crime. Alpha, are you there?
Yes, I am. Hi, Margareta.
Okay. Hi, Alpha. So you will present about sexual coercion, right?
Yes, I will. But our classmate Amina will be the one sharing the screen.
Okay.
Yeah, I will. Don't worry. I'm going to share.
Now the time is yours.
Thank you, Margareta, and thank you so much, Amina. First of all, I would like to say hi. My name is Alpha, and I would like to say thank you to Universitas Airlangga and AMERTA, the program, and also Margareta and Nido as our lecturers, and of course, my two classmates, Amina and Alihan. My name is Alpha, and as mentioned by Margareta earlier, I'm a student from University of Sultan Zainal Abidin, Malaysia. So before I get started, I did a lot of reading on sexual coercion. But before I did my readings, the first thought that came to my head was, oh my God, what is sexual coercion? So could I please have a show of hands if you are on the same boat as me, where you kind of don't really know what is sexual coercion and such? Okay, great. I see people raising their hands. Oh, thank you for not making me feel alone. So yes, let's proceed with the next slide where I kind of give you a hint on what sexual coercion is. So what is sexual coercion? Sexual coercion is actually non-consensual sex, forced intercourse, or in the everyday language, we will call it as rape. Rape is a crime, okay? It is done through vaginal penetration, anal or oral penetration. Anything that is done without your consent can be counted as rape. This type of sexual coercion can actually happen verbally, which is through talking, speaking harsh words, or harassment. Next, by physical power, aka through the strength of your body, or psychologically, which is related to the mental and emotional state. With sexual coercion, rape and criminality behind it, it usually happens to women or younger girls. Next slide, please, Amina. So, potential perpetrators and what contributes to it. So, potential perpetrators here means the people that could contribute in the act of sexual coercion or rape as a crime. Since our target of viewers for today are actually the youth from the age of 15 to 24 years old, let's relate it back to interest. At this age and this stage, we are becoming our own person. We are trying to express ourselves. We are trying to implore and explore everything that is around us. And, when we grow up, we start to develop our own personalities and such. And don't worry, it is actually quite natural for you to be interested in topics like this, it makes us human. One of the topic is, of course, sex. When you Google sex, it is easy for you to come across porn website, as explained earlier by Nido, and which is in line with our tagline, hashtag porn is not real sex. This then relates to the frequency and type of porn that you watch in your spare time. Frequency here means the number of times you watch pornography materials. So is it twice in a day? Is it 3 times in a week? Is it every single day? I would also like to point out the duration of time for pornographic materials that you keep yourself engaged with. Is it 20 minutes? Is it a few hours? And again, what I meant by type here is the genre. As we know, in music, we have different genres such as jazz, rock, R&B, classical. The same here in pornography and its genre. For porn, we also have types or genre, whether you are more interested in rape depicted porn, rough sex, whether it's intercourse with younger girls, younger men, older men, and etc. And in some cases of extremity, some offenders actually keep a collection of porn and they make a conscious effort to save these videos. So how does interest in porn and how does frequency and type actually relates to crime? It is because of my third point here, which is deviation. All of my points here interrelates with each other. This then brings me to my third point, which is deviation. Watching porn can create a sense of deviation. What is deviation, you might ask? Deviation is actually a detach from normalcy. So the more porn you watch, the higher the amount of time you spend to watch or engage yourself in these pornographic materials, the more normalized it is for you. It becomes one. It is considered as an everyday thing. So when you see a woman being treated unkindly or a man being harassed on the street, because you are so used to seeing this in the videos that you watch, you no longer think that it is a problem. This is what I meant by it creates a sense of deviation because it is so normalized in your brain. Researchers think that you will be more likely to commit this act because you no longer see the problem in it. And it also lowers the chance of you to help or prevent sexual coercion, rape, and its crime in the everyday life. Next slide, please. So I know one of the reasons why this webinar is interesting is over the fact that we are speaking about a taboo topic and over the fact that we have speakers from 4 different countries, Indonesia, Philippines, France, and Malaysia. So some of you may wonder, how are the victims of sexual coercion are like in Malaysia? In Malaysia, rape is happening. According to NEO Project, there is about 40 rape cases that are reported every single day. And in some parts, a sex-related crime happens every 2 hours. Sadly, out of the high numbers of rape-related crime, 10% of these cases involve children under the age of 12 years old. These 12-year-old girls, yes, every single day, Chata Abrar. Some of these cases are usually girls. And these girls that was forced into sexual coercions are reported to be done by their own family members. Now, you might wonder how these numbers actually happen because I could actually see it in the chat box and people are going crazy. So you might wonder how this number actually happens. The main tactic that is being used is the second point right here, child grooming. And yes, I agree, Nugro, that's really scary. So what is child grooming, you may ask? Child grooming is when you get too close to someone and you start building trust and comfort. So you first start by being their friend. You gain their trust, their parents' trust. They invite you over to their home. Since most cases involve family members, you are already comfortable with your own family members. And it is uncommon to be left alone with them or to ask them for their help to babysit your children, but still, be careful. And in Malaysia, social platform also plays a large role in sexual coercion and its related crime. We have social media platforms such as Facebook and Telegram that decimates this type of info. There, selling and buying of victims also happen. They sell pictures, videos, and they even take requests of these non-consensual sex and workers. There's even a Telegram group in Malaysia that keeps on getting banned but have thousands of participants, and most victims are local. So they even have monthly and yearly subscriptions. So next slide, please, Amina. So how can I be a victim? Let's be real. Being a victim of sexual coercion, rape, or any sex-related crime is simply traumatizing, and no one should go through it. There are some things that you could do to avoid being a victim. First off is by your lifestyle. This kind of relates to being to the concept of victimology. So the lifestyle here means your routine, activities, and how you go about your everyday lives. I'm sure we have heard of cases where someone gets raped after a night out in the club, regardless of their gender. They get raped in dark alleys and such. In other cases, some may even get raped in their own home. Why? Those circumstances where you trust others too much and have too much faith. Let's not just put all the attention to lifestyle, let's also shed some lights in the bigger context, which is cultural context, the type of community you live in. Since I live in Malaysia, and it's safe to say across Southeast Asia, we have this culture, this perception and beliefs that victims of sexual related crime, these traumatizing crimes, these victims are actually the one that are actually asking for it, that they are the one that want it. These victims are blamed despite being kids. Next, I would also like to point out the age factor that could also contribute to you becoming a victim. From my previous presentation, I stated that most victims are actually young victims. Some have not even reached the age of 12 yet. A lot of these victims have been affected are actually done by people of authority, people that we should feel safe with and have a certain level of trust and faith. People like your teachers, all the family members and such. And in places like your own home, school, places where you are supposed to be safe and comfortable. Next slide, please. So, porn in Malaysia contract. What is the problem here? Not the whole problem, but one of the main problem is actually, as I mentioned earlier, rape culture. Rape culture where we normalize this non-consensual sex or rape or sex-related crime. Even though these things happens a lot, it is still considered as extremely taboo in the Malaysian context, especially in more rural areas. And even though it is normalized, it is considered as taboo, it is also considered as not that serious. We are always overlooking these problems. And because I mentioned earlier how a lot of victims are actually kids and it is done by their own family members, a lot of people say, oh, the kids are just being lovey-dovey and playful. And in the Malaysia context, we have this term called manja, which is all this lovey-dovey, playful. When you're a child, you always want to be playful with your family members. So yeah, this concept of being manja. So next slide, please. I have presented to you the problem. So how can we solve this issue? What can we do as individual, as a community? So first off is know, justify, and claim your boundaries. You should know what is considered as appropriate, what is considered inappropriate, what is considered as comfortable. If your own uncle touches you on your shoulder, is that considered as appropriate? Are you comfortable with that? So, justify your boundaries, know your boundaries. You control your own body and no one else. In Malaysia, we have social media platforms such as on Instagram, such as Monsters Among Us, Speak Asia, and recently we have Lapor Predator, where it is done online, where if you know a predator, you can just key in online. We also have Our Malaysia, where we can contact these platforms and they can help you through it out. The next and last slide for me, which is some takeaway points. So some takeaway points, I would just to wrap up again. Sexual coercion is non-consensual sex. If you don't agree to it, it can be considered as rape, which is a crime. Second, porn and rape happens a lot, but is still considered a taboo, which it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be considered as a taboo. And third, know your boundaries. Even with your own family members, you need to establish and you need to know your boundaries. And please don't be afraid to speak up because you are never alone. That is all from me. My name is Alpha Johan and I will pass the presenter towards the next one, which is my classmate Ali Khan. Thank you.
Thank you, Alpha. Now Ali Khan, he will talk about child pornography, especially related to teens. Hi, Ali Khan, are you there?
Hi, good afternoon, Margareta. Yes, I'm here, and then
Time is yours.
yes. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so by the way, I'm Alikan Mendez Pandapatan. So my colleague, Miss Alpha, talked about coercion, and now I'm gonna focus on teenagers. It's because most of the participants actually this webinar is to invite 15 to 24 years old to be aware of about porn. And now I'm gonna talk about the pornography and sex related crimes here. So wait. Okay, so over the last 2 decades, the youth culture and adolescent development is influenced in unprecedented ways. It because of modernity, and a lot of people, not only youth, but all people are engaged in what we call the digital age. And then one of the highlight of this digital age is we are using internet. And with the internet consumption, it has been a part uh, of the lives of youth, especially you guys. Like every day, you need to use internet in order for you to have your good day, because you are digital native. Agree or not, you are a digital native and you are internet consumers or users, and then it has been a part of your life. Now, because of this, though we have this netiquette on the internet, how we should properly use searching or surfing in the internet, but a lot of youth or adolescents, they are a lack of discernment and management of the content as well as the danger in the internet. So this leads to them to see some materials that is unnecessary, that can cause them to change their perspective, like Nido said, the first presenter said a while ago regarding the dopamine, what it can have effects to your brain. Okay, and then because of that, a lot of active users or those youth using internet in their daily lives, or they consume 3 to 4 hours or even whole day, they become compulsive internet use. And then it has been found not only to one country but globally that um, these people who are compulsive internet users are searching for pornography, or they encounter pornography intentionally or unintentionally. So it is a global trend, not only in US, not only in the South, not only here in the Southeast Asia, but everywhere. Okay? So it is a trend, and it is alarming because it keeps increasing. Okay, the compulsive internet users. So studies suggest that youth develop unrealistic sexual values and beliefs. Okay, because a lot of things that we can see in the internet are all virtual, and this all virtual might be are realistic and unrealistic, and a lot of these things to see or you see on the internet are all exaggerated. And what happens to you then? You create to your mind these unrealistic sexual values and beliefs, which affects your daily lives. And then, to what extent this leads to more victimization and perpetration? Okay, because accessing pornographic material, especially you guys, teenagers, are really curious about it. And then once you are exposed to it, then you can prone to victimization or perpetration or both. Okay, remember that. Okay. Now, these are the common sex crimes to teenagers. Okay, there are a lot of things. Okay, but I'm gonna mention you the things that might happen in your community, but you don't consider it's a crime. Okay, because sometimes you just ignore it like, oh, that's something, it's normal, but it's not actually. So let me talk about you sexting. Sexting actually is sending photos, especially scandals, doing act to your friend, boyfriend, or to anyone else. Okay, that's sexting. Especially if you are underage, then that's very illegal. Okay, there's a case of a 16-year-old girl in Maryland in USA that she sent her photos doing sexual activity to her friends, to two females and then one male, and then actually, like, though it's a consensual accordingly, but actually it's illegal because it spread, it disseminated the pictures. And then it's sad to know that the girl who is a victim is actually the perpetrator itself, because why she sent her nude photos or sexual activity to her friends. So that's why it's a crime already. So that's why I mentioned a while ago that's either you are a victim, at the same time you can be a perpetrator of your own acts. The second one is the sex assault. A sex assault is not involves only penetration or sexual intercourse, but actually it also involves like touching sensual parts of your friend. Okay, if they don't want it and then you insisted verbally or non-verbally, that's what we call sex assault already. Okay, there is an issue with Kristen Blasey Ford case in Finkelhor. Okay, Ford case. um it was founded actually when they are old already, but she mentioned this when she was ready, that um, her friend was abused her when they are during their underage, during their adolescent years. I think, if I'm not mistaken, 18 years old during that time. And then, like, because she thinks that during that time it's quite she's afraid to talk about it. At the same time, maybe it's normal at their age, but actually it's not. Then she realized when she learned what sex assault is, then that's the time she talked about it, when she was ready. The third one actually is a cyber sex. It includes the internet. Actually, you are requested to do sexual activity online. Okay, virtually. Okay, we have this example here, arrested cyber sex then in Butuan, Philippines. Okay, where this certain girl, I think 28 years old, then she has this 13 victims or minors, post-pubescent and between age 13 to 18, that she sell them online. And then, you know what cyber sex actually is? They're gonna let you do sexual acts depends on the customer, and then it is found out that it was a business to that person. Okay, so it is a crime. Okay, when someone let you do a sexual act to someone you don't know and you get money from that, then it's cyber sex. Okay, it's either you get from it money from that person or not, but letting you doing that online, then that's cyber sex, and remember, that's crime. Okay, next we have the sex slave or prostitution. A sex slave is you are commanded to do sexual activity to someone or to people without giving you a money because you're a slave. Or you are a prostitute. A prostitute actually is you are receiving money. Okay, you are receiving money from a client. Okay, so there is a case here, Ubadaya's offense. Actually, this teen girl met this person in Facebook actually, and then because she was vulnerable, and then she was invited to a road trip to Miami. And then, of course, she was so happy, and she didn't even think that she was in danger. And then when they arrive at hotel, there are 20 men on the hotel. And then luckily, she escaped from that situation. But of course, she reported. Okay, so that thing is a sex slave, because you are forcing, and then of course, um you do not know those people, and at the same time you are minor. Okay, the next one is rape. I know you are very familiar, guys, with a rape. That's the common thing, and then it happens most of your age because of your vulnerability. Okay, especially when people are curious. I actually know uh, local situation happen here, um, in our city, that girl, like she goes with those group of men, then as expected, because they're drunk, then she was raped. And then because of that, she said she was raped, but then because she know it happened, she know that it might happen to her, then some people also blamed her for that, because because of that certain thing. And an example here, we have this Belgium gang rape. Because of this, um, a young girl raped by five young boys also, then she cannot take what happened to her, and then like it leads to psychological, um, there is a psychological effect to her. Then she committed suicide in Belgium. And then it is one actually problem of Belgium, that yearly there are a lot of reports, around 200. Okay, and then next is hebephilia. I know you are not familiar with this, but you are familiar with pedophilia. Hebephilia actually is you are attracted or victimizing a minor at post-pubescent. It means you have this, for girls, you already have this menstruation, and for boys, you have these changes on your body. You are adolescent already, or you're really a teenager. So, you know what? Because of this, there are a lot of adults or perpetrators who are really actually attracted to teenagers or high school students or senior high school students. And you should be careful in that. So hebephilia actually is not considered as a psychological problem, but accordingly, it is a crime. So remember that. Okay? That's under the umbrella of pedophilia. Okay? So that's the common sex crimes happening to teenagers. So how perpetrators operate with those kind of things? The first thing that we always knew, that they establish themselves as nice person. Remember that it doesn't you see physically that this person is nice, I think. You cannot assure that because you cannot read the mind of that person. Okay? And then second one, perpetrators actually they able to charm you, like grooming that was mentioned by my co-speaker Alpha. Like they're not just convincing you, but they're also actually convincing your family to go with them, or to establish a good trust with your family and to you. So that thing actually, like, we are vulnerable to it, because we thought that these people, once they show a good thing to you, then you believe on them easily. So be careful, okay, of these things. It's not always the nice people that you see are always nice. Okay, remember, people can be devils also. Okay, so what are the prevention a teenager like you guys can at least do? We have the primary, secondary, and tertiary. And then the first one actually is focus on stopping a crime before it occurs. Okay, let's focus on pornography, age pornography. You know already that pornography or porn will not cause good to you, but will cause a, a bad thing to you. So you have to avoid not to access it because you know already you're gonna stimulate your urge. You're gonna what do you call this one? Be addicted to it, and hard you're gonna be having hard time to get out from that addiction. And then the second one is directed at people thought to be at high risk of committing the offense. Okay, if you know someone, especially your friends, you can, or friends that can be a victim, or uh, they can be a victim, then tell them. Okay, then tell them that this thing might happen to you. Okay, especially to those friends who are not guided by their parents. Okay? Because, by the way, remember, perpetrators can be as age as you are, or can be as younger, okay, or younger than you. Okay, so remember that perpetrators not only adults but can be as age as you are, and then also younger. And the third prevention actually is focus on known offenders. If like you have this power, or you are brave enough to tell that person, the offenders, actually to stop it, then do it. But of course, it might be hard to you. Okay, and then remember also that you need to reduce provocation, that you cannot just tell something what is right from wrong to a person because you are not a clinician, you're not an expert. Okay, so when you do something, make sure it's in a good way, make sure that it will not offend, or it will not take negatively by the offender or the your friend who will prone to be a victim. Okay, and then the fifth one actually is removing excuses. Okay, so a crime actually, or sexual crimes actually, should not be excused. Okay,
Yes.
because it's a violation. Okay, so no matter they how defend themselves, let tell them that it's illegal. Okay,
Okay.
and then it's a crime. Okay, so action steps and treatment. I'm almost done with my time,
Mm-hmm.
Margareta.
I think yeah, yes. I give you 1 more minute, okay?
Okay. So these are the actions, and then actually the important part of my presentation, one of the important is the thing, like the first one actually is these are the actions you need to do. Once you access your porn, you have to eradicate or erase that one, and then let someone to download anti-porn to your phone or any gadget. Someone that can be trusted with, because if you know the password, then you can easily access it. Okay, and then again, how about you are already engaged with that, and then your pictures or videos are already on that website? What you're going to do, you don't know, right? So these are the steps that you're going to do. The first thing is go to police, file a report. The second one actually is make sure you have the copy of the photo or video on the website as evidence, because how policemen will believe in you if you don't have that evidence. And then of course the third one is consult with an attorney. Of course we have this public attorney, and you can go to them, especially you are minor, you have a lot of rights. And then fourth one, know your resources. There are a lot of agencies, there are a lot of institution that can help you. For instance, here in the Philippines, we have the DSWD, or the Department of Social Welfare and Development. Okay, you can go to them and they can assist you about this one. Okay, for the treatment, we have the therapy, support groups, and medication. So what are the things you have to remember? First is keep oneself away from consuming pornographic materials or participating pornographic activities and the like. And then the second one is teenagers are prone to vulnerability of being victims. And then the last one, help by becoming a responsible teenager based on the ability to prevent or counter child exploitation and abuse. And then thank you very much for listening. And then the next presenter will be from France, who is Amina Isafa.
Thank you, Alikan. I'm going to share my screen now. So can you see my screen? Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
Amina, we can.
Okay. So good morning, good afternoon, everyone. I am Amina, one of the students of Forensic Psychology class. And now I will discuss with you what is revenge porn and how to deal with it. But firstly, I wanted to know, because I'm curious, have you ever heard about revenge porn? If yes, give a thumbs up or raise your hand so that I know. Okay. Okay. So much that I have expected. Okay. So before I'm talking about the core of my topic, I'm going to briefly introduce you the conception of context of young people in my country, that is France, to broadening the discussion since we are in a multicultural webinar. So in France, half of teenagers, so about 51% aged to 15 to 17, admit to having already surfed to a pornographic site. So this is according to an IFP study for the Observatory of Parenthood and Digital Education. So as you can see, majority of viewers are boys, so almost 63% against 37% for girls. So personally, I've never watched porn, but girls are catching up in this matter. I mean by that, I mean more and more girls are watching porn. Yeah. So now, how porn could lead to revenge porn? So I'm going to explain to you the term of revenge porn. So actually, revenge pornography is the online, sometimes offline, non-consensual distribution or sharing of explicit images, so basically sexual content, of someone else by ex-partners, it will be also partners, or others, people or hackers seeking revenge or entertainment. So it also referred to as non-consensual pornography. So the vast majority of revenge porn is committed by men on women ex-partners. So the images could be shared on internet, or it could also be shared on social media and also on a pornographic website. So now I wanted to share with you this example. This is a concrete revenge porn case because it happened to a close friend. So I think it will be easier for you to understand clearly what is revenge porn. So who is the victim? So her name is Alexandra and she lives in Belgium. And she was 14, 15 years old when that happened. So the perpetrator was her boyfriend, her current boyfriend at the time. And he was the same age as her, the same middle school as her. And it occurred in 2018. And what happened? So basically, some intimate private photos and videos of her were spreading on social media and also on internet. So now I will discuss about her story in detail. So her story is divided in two parts actually, and happened in the same period of time. So the first one is that she once shared nude pictures to her boyfriend. So actually she was not completely nude, but she wore underwear. through instant messages to her boyfriend. And after that, his boyfriend shared those same pictures to his friends, and those friends share it to other people. And so very quickly, many people in our middle school have been aware of her pictures. But that's not all. Still, when she was 15 years old, another traumatic event happened when she came to her boyfriend's house. So his boyfriend in the house hired one of his friends to record a video. So my friend and his boyfriend were in the living room doing foreplays, so they were about to have sexual encounter. And the friend hidden in the house recorded a video, and he tried to focus the camera, only towards my friend, so that we can only see her in the video. And after that, the video was spread on social media. And unfortunately, after the sharing of the picture and the video, she started to suffer from cyber harassment and also bullying in her school. So she was insulted of word, bitch, cheap girl by people in her school, but also in social media, especially on Instagram, where people leave some offending comments under her posts. So she was criticized like it was all her fault, because people went like, how could she do that? She's only 15 and she was about to have sexual encounter. She's just a whore, this kind of comment. And because of that, a lot of her friends left her. So she spent most of her time alone in her school after that event. And because of that, she started a kind of depression, anxiety, and harmed herself. So be aware that she's far from being the only one suffering from that abuse, and many of them end up committing suicide. I can mention some examples that happened recently in India. So, for example, a 16-year-old girl in India committed suicide due to depression after her boyfriend shared an intimate video to his friends. I also could mention another example of a daughter and her mother who also committed suicide because due to the sharing of an obscene video of the girl by her ex-partner, and he did that with the purpose of ruin her marriage, her current marriage. And the fact is that worked because her husband divorced her. So that's why she committed suicide. Now, why women are more affected by revenge porn and sexual abuse in general. So we've seen with those examples that I gave to you, that the victims are mostly women and girls, and then the perpetrators are mostly men and boys. So in addition to the crime itself, it often happens that women experience what we call victim blaming. So what is victim blaming? So this is the act of pointing the finger at the victim of a crime as being responsible for what happened to her. So for example, in the case of raping, some women are accused to be responsible for their rape, because their clothes were not appropriate. So they wore miniskirt, or they have a large neckline, for example. But why men did things like that, and why the perpetrators are most men? So actually, this is deeply linked to broader issues of gender inequality and misogyny. So in fact, in real life, offline social inequalities have the same repercussion online. So in this online environment, revenge pornography and other abusive behavior constitute a kind of gendered hate speech towards women, designed to silence them. And this is sometimes a way for men to to also blackmailing women in order to obtain something in return. So in short, as you can see here, there are two main logic in men minds, in men perpetrators. So the first is, the one is based when men have to have the impression of losing control over women on a certain situation. So for example, when this girl starts to be distant, or when she's close to other guys, or when she broke up, for example, this is some situations where men have the impression to lose their control. So in response, revenge pornography is a way to regain control over the women and keep his superiority as a man. And the other logic in men's perpetrator minds, is the excessive sexualization of women. So framing them in terms of particular instances such as prostitution. We also see some similarities between the conception of pornography, in which women are often sexually commodified and degraded. So now, what we could learn from So, boys, I'm talking to you. So firstly, educate yourself about how to be respectful towards girls or women. Be aware of what you should do and not do when it comes to girls. Girls and boys are equal, so stop toxic masculinity. Men are not superior in comparison to women. And if you hear about one of your friends sharing non-consensual photo, please report. It's better to lose a friend than that participate to this kind of crime, you know. And then girls, it's very primordial to be aware of this kind of crime because it could happen to anyone. It could happen to one of your friends. It could happen to one of your classmates, one of your members of your family, or it could be you. So be careful and don't share nudes. Be mind that when you share nudes to someone in private, due to the rapidity of spreading on the internet, your photos could be found anywhere else very quickly, and not only at a local scale, but more widely, so even internationally, because of internet. And also, do not obey your boyfriend or any other guys if you feel forced to do something you do want to. So this is very important to have that in mind. Now, how developing intimate relationship? So to prevent revenge porn, but also sexual violence in general, it's necessary to set up a healthy relationship with the youngest. For this, it will be useful to discuss about how to build healthy relationships at the age of the first serious dates, I will say, so that is in high school. The problem is that we don't talk enough about sexual education, and nowadays young people inform themselves about sex with their peers, siblings, and also, unfortunately, with porn. So it's primordial to define limit in dating. And for this, the relationship has to be built on these spaces. So open and honest communication, mutual trust, respect. Don't forget to establish boundaries. And also it could lead to a personal growth, a mutual personal growth. And however, when one partner begins to assert dominance over the other, this is where unhealthy patterns begins. So you have to identify these signal alarms to be aware of the toxicity of a relationship. So the first toxic behavior that you can easily identify is the name calling or insulting in public, or it could be also in social media or in private when the two of when the couple is alone together. Or also isolating a partner from friends and family. So yeah, avoid your boyfriend or your girlfriend to see your parents, for example, or whatever. Stalking or harassing on social media. Also uncomfortable, non-desired physical contact or physical harm. So I mean by that, if, especially for girls, if a boy forces you to do, or if he start to touch you in a spot where it's private sport, please try to say no. Okay, and if it's go too far, talk to that to your family, to your friends, and don't stay quiet about that. So in conclusion, what you should retain from our presentation. So revenge porn could happen to anyone. So don't stay passive, please, and make a complaint whenever you're a victim or if you see this kind of non-consensual content on social media. Also, educate yourself about what you should do or not do when it comes to sex, and how to respect a woman or a girl, especially for men. And this is important to build healthy relationship and recognize the signs of a toxic one to prevent as much as possible the crime. So here are my references and also the references of Alpha. Thank you for listening, the three of us. And now, Bu Margareta, the time is yours.
Okay, thank you, Amina and Alpha. Again, I want to underline Alikan and Alpha, Alikan and Amina. You know, for those who attending this webinar, I must say I'm really proud that you know, this webinar is actually facilitated, prepared by these three marvelous students. So only 3 students, but they can manage to share what they've learned so far in one semester. Big applause for them. I'm really proud. So what we're aiming to do here is just to raise awareness about how porn can influence you, especially you young people with this with the brain that still can be molded and heavily influenced by porn. What I want to share with you right now is what actually porn does to us. I mean, what kind of thing that could happen to us, not just physically, as Nido has mentioned before. What I will explain more is also how porn can influence us as self, like as a person, also us in relationship, and also the community, including how porn can create crime. Okay, so I'm Margareta. What I want to share with you how life now is so different, that this is not easy for us just to say no to porn, because porn has become a part of modern human living. You browse for something there, porn on the left side of your computer, just showing up like that, even though you don't want to find it. So exposure is inevitable. Some will be active users, so you will see, you would try to search and consume it because you're willing to do it. But some people just act passive user or just receiver, they don't really use it. So actually, this is something that we need to be aware of, that we're becoming, it is part of modern living, especially when human, we know that at some point in our life, for example, in stressful life, we are more prone of accessing porn or trying to find out ways, you know, for alleviating a bit of our pain and our tension by absorbing these porn materials. And nowadays, porn materials are very easy to access. Sometimes it's free. In some countries, there's no limitation at all. And out of age factor, some young minds are just curious enough. They want to understand what is sex. And sometimes they think porn is the sex source, so you can learn about sex from porn. But I must say, even though we already mentioned so many times that porn has this negative effect on you, however, we also should take a note that some people use porn in therapeutic settings. So actually for intervention, for improving the quality of life. However, that is assisted usage of porn. So a professional, a mental health professional, actually guiding how people use porn. So it's not just by yourself, you're individually accesses porn. So what I want to say is we need to be aware that sex has become a part, porn has become a part of our life. So we need to be conscious about how to deal with porn and how we should understand how porn influences us. So the second thing I want to talk to you that we also have a great risk to become attached with porn. Why? As you can see here, this statue, yellow statue, this is found in somewhere in Europe, close to Austria. Actually, it's believed from Paleolithic time. So it's about 25,000 years ago. As you can see, this beautiful sculpture depicting a woman with big breasts, big waist, showing sexiness. Even sexiness is depicted 25,000 years ago. Why? Because we're human, are prone to like to see, to like to consume supernormal stimulus. So supernormal stimulus are exaggerated version of a stimulus compared to like the natural ones. It makes you get excited because the amount, the color, the intensity of the stimulus is overwhelming big. And it can also increase the response. So for example, you like sweet stuff like sugar, like candy. Why? Because that is exaggerated sweetness. What happened with porn? Porn is also exaggerated form of sex. It's not natural sex. It's the exaggerated. It's being maximized until it's not realistic anymore. But we are prone to that as we are addicted to many kinds of stuff because we just love something that is super normal. So what I want to say with you, so guys, it is not only about you having this huge control over yourself, but we also need to understand that there are times that you will be more inclined to see, you will inclined to explore or experiment with porn and sexuality just because it is depicted as exaggerated. Yeah. So how should we deal with it? We need to understand how this exaggeration of sex in porn can have impact to oneself, to ourselves. So many studies have found that actually consuming porn regularly will create changes in your life, including one, most of the regular user of porn usually see women differently because predominantly porn users are men and what they consume is porn about women. So when they see women objectified sexually in the porn videos or picture or text, they start to see women in this image of should be sexualized. Women should be sexualized. Women, we need to talk about with them sexually, and they should receive it because women should be sexually objectified sexually. And also, this kind of make this unrealistic beauty standard. In the porn, women often depicted as beautiful, voluptuous, with this body that's being exaggerated by plastic surgery. And that kind of image stays in the mind of these young people or the users, and they kind of expect that to happen in the real life from their partner. You're not pretty enough if you don't look like particular standard. And what causes for women, they also can have this body image that is not real. And to some extent, if you're not careful enough into understanding what kind of porn you're consuming right now, that can lead to unhealthy sexual behavior. As you know, more than 40% of porn actually will depict some kind of violence-related sexual activity. So it will involve some kind of violence like rape gang, choking, degrading people during having sexual activity. That concept, that image can also stay in your mind and creating this expectancy to recreate that in your relationship. Even some people are known who consume porn, they can start to have this misogynistic ideas. Misogynistic is the idea that you see women as derogating, so really lower women in their interaction, as if like women are weak, women are violent, women are manipulative, because that is also often portrayed in porn, that women should be subordinated, or sometimes they're just have to be controlled. And other than that, some studies also show that porn can make impact to one's ability in making relationship. So it is known that people who are addicted, so addicted means you consume porn more than 11 to 12 hours per week. So if you start to see, or you know other people or your friends, or you know somebody who start to consume porn more than 11 to 12 hours per week, you should tell them that it is very close to mental health problem, because that is addiction to porn. And what we know so far, people who are addicted to porn have this lower ability to maintain intimate relationship. They seem to have failing in dating, or even in their marriage, for example, if they're already married. They seem to unable to create meaningful and healthy intimate relationship. Why? Because in porn, they see this women that can be controlled, that can be sexually objectified and willingly to satisfy sexual activity. But in real life, when you're making relationship with women, there will be fights, for example, there will be conflict. It's not easy to develop relationships with a real woman compared to porn, where you just click, stop, everything can be under your control. So the consequences are, you know, they give up in making relationship with real women. Some people even try to switch into sex doll, for example, or unable to create a healthy, meaningful relationship. And other than that, we also see that some people try to reenact or redo what they what they saw from porn. So, for example, like rape, like violence, violent sex for their partner or people who are surrounding. So that can create aggressive or violence or sexual coercion. That is something that we found along many studies, how porn can make influence in the happening of criminal behavior. And other than that, porn can also influence the community. You know, if these people consuming porn, they start to have this misconception about sex and women, and they are they're less likely to develop intimate, healthy relationship. Probably they're also less likely to want to build a family. That's actually what is happening nowadays. We observe in Japan, where less young people want to have children. And the cause of it is actually the demography start to change, because less children are produced, so more older people are there. So that creates imbalance in the community. Of course, this is not only because of porn. There are many factors influencing what happened in Japan right now. However, we can also take notes of this very important learning that, you know, even porn can create such sex industry that can shape how people do sexual behavior, how people will make decision about their life. If people are attached with this machine, so-called sex website, porn website, or maybe anime, or maybe this other sex-related resources, and they are now starting to reduce their ability, have a reduced ability in developing intimate relationship, maybe we should rethink again about whether we should consume porn. Or if we are consuming porn, how should we deal with it? How should we manage our porn consumption? So what I also want to tell you is porn, most of the time, do not depict real sex. What happened in the porn is you see beautiful women. However, do you know that they are made that way superficially? That is not real natural beauty most of the time. Plastic surgery are there. So having this beauty standard according to porn is just unrealistic. If you've seen porn too much, probably that will influence your ability into perceiving real life body. And please don't compare your body with what you saw in porn. And also in some porn, it is often depicted that forced sex is something that you can see often. I think you can just Google in many porn sites. Rape is one of the topic that often people attend to. They like seeing rape. What happens if you see rape often? Then you start to see that as normal. But that destroy our ability to differentiate what is healthy, what is criminal, what is not healthy. But I should remind you, just like our colleagues say, violence is never okay. And also in porn, it's also destroy our ability to build boundary. What are the things that allowed to do? What are the things that we need to control with our body? Because often the time that is so blurred in porn. So porn do not depict real sex. And other than that, porn should not be used as sex education. However, unfortunately, because of lack of sex education materials, we know it's not so easy for young people to know what is healthy sex, what is that they should be aware, they should understand about the development of their sexuality. So this is something that I encourage. I know that some of you are teachers from schools. We need to serve these young people better to understand where are the sources, healthy sources for them to understand their sexuality. So we should know better about how to attend this. And I think I also need to say this, how porn relates to sexual violence and crime. Again, many studies have found that porn actually marginalizes people, especially women, people with handicap, people from ethnic minorities, often depicted as low, can be manipulated, very passive, and can be controlled. And if you see that often, then you start to believe that actually those people should be marginalized. And porn also found to be induced violence and sexual deviation. So we know that often a sexual perpetrator of sexual violence against children, when we search their sexual behavior, often the case we know that they are consumer of porn, and especially children pornography. And also porn is found at the core of human sex trafficking. That is something that a big problem we're dealing, especially in Southeast Asia, like Indonesia, Philippines, that often seen as a place where this pedophilia or child predators to come and get their victims or their source of imagination coming from porn, but they want to make it real when they see the child itself in these countries. And other than that, something that porn really destroy is our ability to differentiate what is consensual sex and what is the non-consensual sex. That is something we need to maintain. Non-consensual sex is never a good thing. Non-consensual sex is always a crime. I again encourage the comprehensive sex education. I will talk about this later. Probably this will be our next project, how to develop comprehensive education, not only for teen, but also for parents and teacher, because this is our problem, not just the youth, not just the adolescent. We parents, we also need to know how to talk about it better, how to understand this matter better, and according to our ability. And other than that, I want to conclude with this. So what you can do, I believe this is obvious. Porn is not real sex. And I believe even though you are a passive user, or maybe you don't really use it, please do not compare your body with this beauty standard came from porn. And as Amina has mentioned before, having a healthy relationship is something that we need to learn in order to tackle porn, actually. It's not just saying that don't do porn, but what is healthy relationship? How boundaries can be justified? How do you know to manage your body? Not just for girls as like the most victimized girl, but also for boys, because we know boys, other than as the potential perpetrator, some of them can also be victim. And violence is always wrong. So never do that, stop crime. And finally, I would like to encourage you to rethink and stop posting and sharing sexual images. Sometimes you may think that this is just image in front of you, but try to see it beyond that. If you keep encouraging, sharing, consuming sexual images like porn, what you actually supporting is the sex industry, where many people are probably sex trafficked into that industry. There are many things that can have negative consequences in that. You may also induce people into being addicted to sexual porn. Please rethink again before you do that, posting and sharing sexual images. So that's from me. Let's go continue to our discussion. I believe that we have so many questions. I will include Nido. Maybe you can answer first questions and then followed by Aufa, Alikan, and Amina. Yes, please, Nido.
Okay, thank you, Margarita. So there's so many questions coming in the chat box. Thank you guys for all of the questions. I might address some of them. The first one that I want to address is a question from Farah. And I believe there are similar questions. So the question is actually about, I explained a little bit about what porn does to our brain. And the question is, what about porn that doesn't include a human in it? Well, what about cartoon porn? So does it still have the same effect? So the answer to that is actually yes. Why? Even though it's not involving human visually, but as Margareta mentioned earlier, porn is just not about human. It's less about human, actually. It's not about human too much. It's about exaggerated form of sex. It is a super normal stimulus. So that is actually the key element of porn that makes many people watch it. So because of these elements still exist in cartoon porn, so is the effect of porn to our brain, because it's still exaggerating. It still triggers the release of dopamine, and too much watching of those cartoon porn will also still lead to the flooding of dopamine in our brain and leading to the same effects of normal porn. So the short answer to that question is yes. Unfortunately, even though it does not include a human visually, it still can affect us. And then another question that I want to address pretty quickly is a question by Muhammad Fikri from SMRN 1, Puri Mojokerto. Hi. So his question is, does porn affect our physical growth? Well, it depends on what you consider as physical growth. For those of you who are not from Indonesia, there is this saying in Indonesia that watching too much porn and doing masturbation will cause weak knees. It will eat your knees. So there's a saying in Indonesia like that. But I'm not a medical doctor, so I cannot really answer to this myth. But as far as I know, it's not true. But does it affect our physical health? Yes, because brain is part of our physical body. So because it affects brain, it also affects many things in our life. The most obvious is our thinking process, our ability to think, our ability to plan, our ability to take decisions. So that is the physical effects of porn. So I hope that can answer those two questions. Yeah, and maybe
Thank you. So, Aufa, thank you, Nido. So, I hope that answer. But I believe that the participants quite active in sharing question and answering question to one another. I'm really glad we have this facilitated because that is what we need actually to be able to talk about this without taboo, without being shameful, and we find it together. And I believe sexual education is something that we need to strive for, yeah, for now. So maybe I can ask Alpha to answer some of the questions.
Hi. Yes, of course. Thank you, Margareta. And I do agree. I do agree with every point that was being raised. So, Angel Faith asks, "Is it a crime when you do it willingly?" In my personal opinion, no. So, but let's bring it back to my topic where I said sexual coercion, like rape and etc. What are they essentially? They are non-consensual sex, meaning if they do not agree to be sexually engaged to a person, it can be considered as a crime. But there are cases when you first agree to sex and is an active and also willing participant of sex. You get to first base or second base, you start kissing and more, but suddenly you have a change of heart. You don't feel comfortable anymore, and for whatever reason, you don't want to continue the act of having sexual intercourse. When this happens and you are no longer a willing participant and you try to stop your partner, you verbally tell them, with your words, you physically, with your strength, you retaliate it, and they still continue, this can be considered a crime. And I also received a question from Maya. Uh, she asked, I'm sorry for assuming your gender. I did not mean that. I mean, Maya asked, could all men be a rape victim? Yes, actually, yes. I would also like to shed some light that anyone could be a rape victim, regardless of their age, regardless of their gender. You can be a victim, which is why it is important for you to, verbalize saying, to know your boundaries, to state your boundaries, know what is comfortable and considered as uncomfortable for you. So I think that's all from me. I will pass it back to Margareta.
Okay, thank you, Alpha. So again, participant guys, yeah, young people, you have the independency, the sovereignty to rule your body. Your body is yours. When you allowing people to 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 do things that you don't like, you have the ability to say no, and you should equip yourself with the ability to say no and find help for that. Even if you started with a conscious, I mean, you're aware that you want to do it, but if you stop wanting it, you have the ability to say no, and no is a no. Guys, try to understand that no is a no. Okay, next, Ali Khan, maybe you can answer some of the questions.
Okay, so I'm gonna entertain this hard question actually. Like how to convince society, especially men, that porn is an abnormal thing. It is indeed not a normal thing. I read a lot of expressions, confession, especially from the married community, that they often face problems scheming from porn. Their husbands often watch porn. When they advise or forbid them, they will say that it's normal for men to watch porn. It's crazy. So it's really she really don't know. I don't know who's the. Oh yeah, she really don't know how she can change their thinking, their stigma to do not normalize it in their lives. As for me, actually, it's really hard to convince men, especially when they are older, because it has been a practice to them. And then one thing that we can do actually is you can try you because you are not expert. Okay, we are not expert, especially if we're just a normal student or a normal person. If our work does not actually like related to that, then we can ask authority, like to convince the people or at least educate the people. But I think this must be a really hard uh, challenge, because convincing old people to change their perspective, it's really hard, because it's already installed in their minds. And then of course, younger generation, um like you guys should start also like educating other people, okay, at your age. Because if you're gonna educate older people, then it might be hard. And then one thing that I can suggest, I think, is to go to authority that can help the community to
Okay.
change their perspectives,
Okay.
especially watching porn.
Yes, yes. I think I agree, Ali Khan. There's
Yeah.
things that you can do, then there are things that you can't do. But you are right. We at least can govern our own behavior, how we access porn. That is the most important things, guys. So maybe it's not about the matter how you change the people who are much mature, older than you, but it's more about how you regulate your access toward porn or your exposure of porn. If you don't like porn, try to avoid those things, because if you start to access porn, the advertisement will follow you. There's this history of search, and they will bombard you with many advertisement with sex related information. So if you want to avoid it, stop it. But if you don't feel you want to stop it, you should know better about how to manage your sexuality. And that is something that we learn. So if you are, I know not all of you may be like user of porn, but if you know somebody who already a user of porn, try remember this thing. What you see in porn is never a real sex. That is just exaggerated form of sex. So it should not be a standard of sex behavior. This is not healthy, not safe sex, actually. And second thing, do not compare yourself with what they're doing in porn, because that will create a negative image about yourself, your self-concept, your ability. Yeah. And three, violence is never okay. So if you're kind of exposed or you watch sex related with violence, you should know how to stop it. Don't do it, because that can change your brain. That can change your concept of sex. And other than that, know your boundaries and how to develop healthy behavior. If you can do that, trust me, you're already making a huge change in the community. It's not only about the matter you change other people, but it's more about you regulate yourself into the ability controlling porn in affecting your life. Thank you, Alikan. And now let's go to Amina. Maybe you can answer some of the
Yes.
question.
I will try to answer to two questions. So the first one, oh, sorry. So the first one comes from Ale Sultan, and he's asking, guys, if we lived in a country that have a culture that allowed to having sex before marriage, is it considered as raping, despite that couple were agree on others? So to respond to your question, this is considered as rape from the moment where you can notice a non-consensual act. So when you are engaged in a marriage with another people, before you get married, it's not considered as a rape if you have a sexual encounter. So this is considered as rape if, for example, your boyfriend force you to do something or force you to have a sexual encounter, or if he touch you and you don't want, that is considered as raping. But if you have normal sexual encounter, and if it's consensual, this is not rape. This is just sexual encounter. So I hope it's clear enough.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yes.
then there is someone who asked about the actress and the actors in the porn industry. And this is Agnes. She asked, are they the victims of non-consensual sex because they are just working for an illegal company? So actually, this is a good question because I've saw a report where some actors and actresses of porn just do this kind of activity, I will say, because they need money, and sometimes it happened that how to say that, for example, some of actresses will have to play a certain scene, a certain act, and maybe this is difficult for her to handle this scene. And I saw some report that say that inside a scene of video pornography, some actresses are raped, and this is covered by the shooting of a pornographic video. So I don't know if I'm clear enough, but yeah. And you have another question. You mentioned is if actor and actresses are protected by the law or not. So actually, I don't know this. I don't have this this kind of information. But what I know is that most often actor and actress of pornography videos are paid cash with cash. So sometimes the authority cannot be aware of if you are engaged in a pornographic activity, So sometimes it's difficult for the authority to know that. So actually, I don't know. Maybe Boo Margareta can help me on this matter.
I can try to. So with regard to sex industry, maybe this is also, I also try to address what is the relationship between porn and crime. Yeah. Often you see, for example, in Pornhub, are like a number of videos as if like they are made by professional. But you must understand, not all are made by professional. Professional mean when they do it, they get paid. Professional act. However, there are some are tricked into doing that. So they're considered that maybe they tell them to do a video, then turn out to be a sex video, and they didn't expect that it will be there for some time, and it's going to ruin their future because they could not see other work other than being sex video models. So it's not always clear boundaries. Even I've seen several articles showing that even Pornhub, as one of the big legal porn site, actually they once have displayed porn related materials actually are real rape. Or for example, somebody is doing non-consensual sex videotape, and then somebody just uploaded that, because that is also a sharing media. So anybody can share anything. So again, this is not a black and white platform that everyone will be paid professionally. There could be, when you access these porn videos, are you actually encouraging some kind of criminal activity? When people being betrayed, when people being manipulated and controlled into doing sex videos, you're actually involved in crime. So make sure you're aware about what you're accessing, what kind of porn you're watching, because otherwise you may be unconsciously involved and encouraging sex crime. That's what I want to say. And also I want to attend to the topic Amina just mentioned. Non-consensual sex is rape. That is obvious. Everywhere in the world, when you commit a consensual sex, is a rape. However, in terms of understanding what is healthy sex, that can vary from context to context, from countries to countries, from values to values. There are some countries who also forbid extramarital sex. So if you do sexual behavior outside of wedlock or marriage, that also can be considered as crime, actually. So it's not just whether this is consensual or non-consensual for identifying what is healthy sex, but you also need to be aware about what is your personal value. What do I believe as healthy sex? What do I believe as healthy boundaries for my body? And that can vary from person to person, not just by religion, not just by country. So that's also something you need to take into account, that sometimes what you believe may be different from others people believe. There are countries, there are people who believe that committing consensual sex is okay. But there are also other contexts when you do consensual sex, but beyond marital bond, that can be considered as illegal, or maybe some kind of a violation toward a norm. Yeah. So again, we need to understand this according to context where we are. Yeah. Is there any other question, Nido? Maybe I missed something. Sometimes I forgot. Oh yeah, I have a question actually from this from one of the viewer. So this person actually already access porn often. Yeah. So again, I need to tell you that using porn, accessing porn more than 11 to 12 hours per week, that's considered to be addiction. Addiction means you are attached to it and you can no longer control it by yourself. So I strongly propose that you get professional help. It's not just mainly about mental health problem, but it's also how to improve the quality of your life. If you kind of attach into doing this, accessing porn all the time and limiting your ability to do other activities, for example, like building healthy relationship or doing sport, doing the things you like, achieving success like work and everything, maybe you need to reconsider to get help so you can improve your quality of life. Yeah, especially if you're young, still in sexually active period, like age. What is that? The age, yeah, between after puberty up to 65 years old. So you need to be aware about how to manage your sexuality. Okay, if you just do it less than 11 to 12 hours per week, but it's more than 2 hours per, it's some kind of already like regular, I think you are at risk. So you need to better manage how you attend to your needs, but in healthy manner, and try to understand what is the best way. Maybe if you can't find a person to talk to, you can go to professional like psychologist, counselor, or people who you can trust with. Okay. Any other question, Nido or Alikan or Amina or Alfa? I think we already reached almost to the end of our webinar.
Yeah, actually, there are a lot of questions, but since we're almost on time, so maybe they can chat for their questions. But some other questions actually are answered during the presentation that we had actually. It's just that maybe they didn't hear that, especially the correlation of pornography and sex crime, actually.
Okay.
The crime.
Okay. Okay. Yes. There's the one question about BDSM. So BDSM is considered as a mental health problem. Yeah. However, it's not always the case. It will be criminal behavior. So there is a line that distinguishes whether this is just health problem or criminal behavior. But that is something that we need to talk with. However, if this kind of BDSM is mainly characterized as using pain, inflict pain, or using pain to induce sexual pleasure. If that start to be something that is not wanted by the partner, actually that already reach into this border we call crime behavior. If one person is not allowing this, do not give the permission to do it, it's actually a crime. And if it's already inflicting some kind of pain, a serious injury, that could also lead to physical violence and crime. Okay, maybe that is for now. Maybe Nido, you can wrap up this event. and give us a strong message. What are the things that we want to... Oh yeah, before we
Just one
close.
thing.
Yes.
Sharing
Oh
the
yes.
hashtag.
Yeah, correct.
So
correct.
I will share the visual on the chat box, and then I will tell you what to do, guys. So tell me if you see the file, and wait, hold on a minute. Yes. Can you see the file that I've shared on the chat box?
Yeah, we can, Amina.
Yes.
Yep.
So yeah. So now this is your turn. Spread the word. So please connect to your social media, or it could be Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, whatever you want. And please make a post or a video or whatever, a photo. Be creative and just share the hashtag porn is not real sex. And also don't forget to mention the university global uner, so that you can spread the word, share the messages with us to convey the message to a wide audience. So please do so. And when it's done, if you do it now, you could give a thumbs up to know, and so that we can see which person share the hashtag. So yeah.
Yeah, I also share it in the chat box. The hashtag that they can share.
Yes.
Yeah. Have you sent the visual also, Amina, in the chat box?
Yeah, I've already
okay, good.
said it on the chat box. Can you open it, guys? Or
yes. So let's do this together. Let's post it. I'm going to do it as well here, and I encourage Amina, Alikan, Alpha, and also me and Nido. Let's post this together. Let's show people where we stand in terms of porn. Let's tell them that we know better about porn and how to deal with porn now. We're not just passive user, we're not just active user, but we are now conscious about how to manage ourselves in dealing with porn. Let's do this, guys. You can use your Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or any kind, or TikTok, yeah, maybe. What else, yeah? Many things that you can share, and let's make this hashtag has the vibe, at least for today. Thank you, Amina.
Also, if you want, you can also put it as a background, like just like what I did here. Filter a background and post it on your social media. That's also a good idea. And I think since we are at the end of our session, maybe I would, before we closing on, I would remind everyone again to fill in our evaluation form. I did send the link to YouTube, but it's got deleted right away. So if you are watching from YouTube, you can go to this link and then fill in the evaluation form. So yeah, because in Indonesia we should be doing the evening prayer now. So we'll probably wrap up our webinar now. So thank you everyone for coming. Today we have discussed about porn and how it affects our brain, our behavior, our sexual attitudes, and how this can lead to many problems, including sexual crimes. So I hope that from today's webinar, you can take home some insightful knowledge and a valuable message that you can spread, that you can further to beloved people around you. So I hope you find this whole session, this long discussion actually interesting and beneficial. And I hope we can have another opportunity to have this similar discussion again in the future. Okay, thank you everyone for joining us with us. Those of you who are here in Zoom and also who are joining us from YouTube live streaming. Thank you again. Goodbye, everyone.
Goodbye. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you everyone
Goodbye,
for
everyone.
listening.
Thank you so
Okay.
much. Have a great
Please
day.
follow
Thank you
the
so much.
please follow the Faculty of Psychology for more events. Maybe next year, they have a lot of topic discussions that they can share to you guys. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you very much for coming.
Thank you. Don't
Thank you so
forget,
much.
post your hashtag. Porn is not real sex. Don't forget that. Okay, guys, thank you. Great job. Oh, well, how do you feel?